Hello, and welcome back for some more Duelist. Hopefully I've got a good one for you this time in the wake of Calvin's Epic Series 3 tournament. Might be a long one, probably broken into a few parts as it's a lot of matches and games to get through. It's funny, I almost didn't enter the tournament as I had plans of people visiting, but a storm blew in and public transport was thrown into disarray, so I'll spend my weekend playing some Duelist. The format for the tourney, I didn't play in the first two, so this was like new to me a little bit. But yeah, the format was like a 2-deck open deck list, matches best of 3 with double elimination. You'll see that this means that once you get knocked into the lower bracket, there's quite a lot of games you have to play in order to progress, and yeah, or to finish the tournament. There's a lot of games with Duelist played. So I guess it's probably the reason why he implemented the other rule where you cut to day 2, make it manageable so you're not playing for like 10 hours or TOing for 10 hours. The offshoot of this rule is that players are allowed to change their decks going to day 2. So there's some pretty interesting decision-making possibility there, as you'll see. But it essentially gives you the option of adjusting to the meta or perhaps just your upcoming opponents. So the last thing is that you play game 1 blind, like you just challenge your opponent, it's random sides, and you like pick your deck without knowing what theirs is for the subsequent games in the best of 3 or best of 5. The winner like declares which faction they're playing, and then the loser gets to counterpick them and pick sides. Gives you a pretty significant advantage in like the subsequent game, but then of course it's quite likely that when you win that game, the tables turn and your opponent gets to have that advantage back. So it means that, you know, winning the first game is pretty important. With that said, I don't know if it's a better idea to have a good all-rounder that you can send in game 1, or have like some specialized lists that complement each other. I don't know the superior strategy. And yeah, without a particular meta read, I basically just wanted to play decks that I'm comfortable on, that I think are decent, that I've played on ladder and enjoy. So one of these decks is an updated Spell High deck. I've already done like a full video on like a Spell High deck previously, but the deck has had some changes since then. The addition of Ghost Links is really nice. Get your card flow. Sloth and the green tile have made 4 Winds Magi a much riskier proposition, and I think even when I made that first video, Blood Rage Mask was still at 1 mana, it's now 2 mana, so that sort of got ditched for a little while, but I've been enjoying it again with that aforementioned problem, I guess, with 4 Winds Magi. You don't get very many procs on the turn you play it, and then it's pretty easy for them just to stand on the green tile. Also, one thing I've been experimenting with recently is that Riftwalker. People are finding it to be a very powerful card, even in a vacuum. It's making its way into a lot of decks. But I'm also enjoying it in Spell High. I often will do like 2 face damage, then they use their general to clear it. That's 5 face damage, 20% of their HP already, right? It also like solves the problem of getting easy juxes. Sometimes you get pushed away and they separate from their minions, so you can't jux. Well, it'd be nice to get an airdrop that additionally deals some damage. And the final thing does is, like, even Spell High does need a contest board. A little AoE can sometimes go a long way in these early turns. So those have come in place of Heartseeker, which I found were just constantly dying to it. And we've got a list looks like this. I think the death of Songhai is a bit exaggerated. It still can do the business when when you don't run into healing decks, which, I mean, to be fair, I had a look at the meta and there was quite a lot of liner. So yeah, I knew I needed something to go alongside that, right? On day 1, I had this Big Abyss list, which initially came from a couple of things. I was trying to play around with Consuming Rebirth, trying to ramp into Zuriel and Revenant. And when I was doing that, I found the part of the deck to not really be working was the Consuming Rebirth bit, but when I was just getting normal draws with like some big minions, I was getting wins. Additionally, I'd seen our S rank 1 player, Nizlit, playing an Abyssian list. I think he was trying out, the whatever the Capricious Marauder X kill minion is, along with Demonic Lure, you can get some nice positioning on that. I didn't find that to be reliable, but it can definitely work. But yeah, so combine those two things, I workshopped this Big Abyss list. And you can actually see that, yeah, Nizlet ran it in the tournament, and the eventual tournament winner, Ghost Driver, have both been using lists that are similar. So I think Abyss as a faction, it's got like a good mix of answers and threats. You know, it's got damage and healing. It's pretty stable to go with. And one funny thing to note actually is that all of our lists that I mentioned there, they're over 40 cards. Like, first, there's a lot of good cards that you want to fit in. But you know, actually, there is another benefit of like currently a lot of the battles in this like tournament and on ladder as well can go a bit long. And for me at least, I don't want to be worrying about being the first to go to fatigue. You're playing 3 Ghost Links, so you're already like 3 cards faster to fatigue than they are. A minor loss in consistency isn't such a big deal to not have to worry about losing to the Lion-R matchup. So yeah, that's why I've gone with this list, and it should it was supposed to sort of cover as a bit of an all-rounder to complement the Spy list. We can head into the first games and we see how these decks did on day 1.